Antonian Hodges in the backfield. Hodges gets never called in the 5, tagging from behind. The dive. Called again. Oh, nice little move to the outside. Throw it.
Welcome in, guys. I heard it here first. We got a second head coach interview. Last week, I had the luxury of doing an interview with Coach from Del Valley, Coach Todd Patman. Now, Coach Earven Flowers, head coach for the Taylor Ducks. Is this your first playoff appearance as a head coach?
That's our second. We made it to the playoffs last year against Bernie, and we didn't get past first round last year, but I played a pretty tough game versus guys.
And so, and Taylor goes, you get a guy like you who's played at the next level. We were talking about Rich Brooks, who was one of the head coaches there. Talk to me about some of the things that your head coaches taught you at Kentucky that you instill in your coaching pattern and that you can bring from that upper level down to the high school level.
One of the things they kind of taught me is just about just hard work, man. At the end of the day, hard work. You know, that's going to be something that is going to be transitioned to any part of your life,
right?
You know, any part of the game.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the biggest things he really instilled in us is working hard, because at the end of the day, you know, if you work hard, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Absolutely.
And that's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
So, you know, we try to instill that with our kids. We have a pretty tough off season, and now that off season, we're starting to pay dividends in terms of how our season turned around.
Man, and I've always lived by this saying: if you work without looking at the clock, you can spend without looking at your account.
So, I don't know about that, but yeah,
I'm just saying, like,
but I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you put in that work, like, you don't have to worry so much about the little things.
Right.
You know, all of that's going to come together. And you and Coach Button, both Division I athletes, which y'all have brought here to Taylor, has been phenomenal. It was a little rough start, and then district came, and we're talking about 4-1 team. 4-1, right? 5-1.
As far as district,
yeah, district.
4-1.
4-1 in district with a tough loss, but y'all played really good against LBJ, who is number 2 in the state, or number 3.
Or number 2. They were number 2 in some polls, so yeah.
And so y'all played tough opponents, and y'all have came out, and now you're the number 2 seed in this district, going against Somerset. What's the game plan against a really good team like Somerset?
You know, I think we played them in 2017. You know, that's the last time we won district at Taylor.
Okay.
And we lost to Somerset in overtime.
Okay.
And Somerset is known for being a tough team, you know, in terms of playing hard, playing to the whistle,
right?
Kind of undersized kids, but they find a way to make it happen. Pretty decent sized linemen. So honestly, you know, they're kind of similar to us in our makeup and what we instill in our kids. So it's going to be a fun game. You know, we got to make sure we control the game from an offensive standpoint and get those stops on defense. You know, last week in Austin Travis game, you know, we struggled a little bit with the tackling aspect of it. We played with some guys who were new starters because we had some guys who were out with illnesses. You know, so we came in and we found a way to get a win, and that's the coolest part about last week. Is we found a way to get a win, and usually those things don't fall in our favor.
Right.
So now it's a little bit different where people kind of respect what we do, and now it's not looking at us like an underdog all the time.
Right.
And our kids find a way to win. You know, so
man.
that's something that's cool and that's positive, and that's something moving forward into this playoff game versus Somerset that we kind of have, you know, in our pocket. You know, we know how to win a close game.
Right.
Obviously, they do know how to win a close game as well. But it's going to be, you know, just a hard-working team versus another hard-working team. And whoever comes out on top, comes out on top.
Right. In the short amount of time that we've talked, this evening, and thank you for this man coming out on his Sunday evening. I know you've been putting in the work, getting prepared for the playoff game, taking time to give us and the fans some insight. You talked about some of the similarities between the two teams. It's going to be two Rams. Then it seems like what is the biggest similarity between the two programs?
Defensively, we run kind of a similar type of defense. You know, we dibble and dabble in some 10-1 stuff, play a lot of man-to-man, put some pressure on the quarterback. They do the same thing.
Okay.
So, thankfully our offense is used to us doing that. So, we'll kind of be used to that going into the game, because if you haven't seen it before, it's pretty fast. It's pretty intense. And, so that's one of the bigger similarities, just from an offensive standpoint. They have a little size on the line. We're kind of similar. Quarterback is really athletic. We're more throwing the ball down the field. I think from our receiver standpoint, we're probably a little bit more athletic from the receiver standpoint. And, they're pretty solid back. We definitely had Tutu Fisher. He's a, good back. And also we have Kayvon Godwin. So, we can run the ball as well. So we really match up, good versus each other. So it's going to be a fun game.
You talk about your receivers, and Jamarcus Seawood, the senior wide receiver, has really lit it up these last few weeks. And also you had a freshman in Damon Calico who's been tearing it up. He was tearing it up in the preseason and still been doing great. How's their relationship, and how has Seawood been able to kind of like put that Calico under his wing and guide him, and what do they do? Do they drive well together?
Initially, that's what was the whole plan. The offense. You've been here for a while. Help out Calico and bring him along, and he did that in the beginning. And those kids, is next man up. Whoever chance it is to make a play, that's what they do.
Right.
And Seawood has carried the load, toward the middle of the season, and Calico making plays here toward the end. Definitely last week, saved us with some amazing plays. So I'm excited about how we have two guys who can stretch the field on the outside, and they complement our running game. We ran the ball pretty well. I think Tutu had the ball rushed it for about 22 times for 145. So we controlled the game, man. So that's something that I'm big on. If you can control the game and take your shots and make your shots count when you go down the field, that's pretty good for our defense. If we can get off the field, get a couple of stops, we can get ahead and we can kind of, run that clock out and manage the game.
And Tutu had his second 200-yard game this season. His first one was as a sophomore against Rockdale. Then I thought he would do it against New Tech. The week after, he goes for like two something. I forget what it was. And so twice that young man has put for over 200 yards. You talked a lot about your defense, too, and how they've matched up. I've been able to get familiar with Caddy Maravilla and Kezion Simeon. And I know Simeon was coming in as a sophomore, now in his junior role. How have those two gentlemen helped lead your defense?
Just my opinion, Caddy is probably one of the better players on our team. It's hard to block him. Does a good job getting off the ball, low center of gravity, and he's disrupt. He's kind of a running back type of athlete in his body, man, and he gives offensive linemen trouble. So he does a good job of that, and definitely being physical. I think he had 10 tackles last week. Did an excellent job of getting up under a lot of blocks and making some plays. And Simeon, man, he's come a long way. He was a lineman for us last year, and we seen him during off season. Like, man, he just has a knack for the ball. So we move him back to the linebacker position, man. And he's done a good job for it. We had Matt Rangel, who was the other inside linebacker. He ended up having some issues with his knee. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was in the hospital for a little bit. And we finally got that infection cleared up. And, he stepped up in the second half for this past game because we wasn't scheduled to play him. We weren't going to play him, but we had so many injuries. And he stepped up in the second half, man, and just went out there on just a few days practice and made some things happen. So we have a lot of guys on our defense, from Steven Rogers. He's a transfer in from Granger, did a heck of a job. Ethan Flagg does a good job for us at corners. Vega, he's been kind of a mainstay at our safety. So, we have some guys who can make some plays. And, I forgot about, Emmanuel Coleman. He's been playing defensive line for us for a while. So we have some veteran guys out there. We've had some good games defensively. Wasn't the best game last week defensively, but I think we kind of, got things on track now. We get everybody back, and we'll be ready to roll for the playoffs.
Man, well, I mean, that's it, man. That's all I really have. You gave me everything about Somerset. You taught me everything about your team this year. Is there anything else you would like to leave a message with the Central Texas football fans, Heard It Here First fans, and your Taylor Duck fans?
Oh man, just stay with us. We're trying to build this thing, and we're starting in the right direction. Last year with the playoffs, back with the playoffs again. The next step is to win the game and be playing during Thanksgiving.
Absolutely,
That's our main goal. That's one of our goals for this year. We want to be playing during Thanksgiving. So we're gonna keep pushing towards that. We're gonna get the ball rolling, and we're gonna turn this program into something that everybody can be proud of.
Man, and y'all have done a phenomenal job, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, actually, I will be calling this game this week for NFHS Network. It will be starting at 7 o'clock.
7:30.
All right, guys. Huge shout out to Head Coach Earven Flowers. 6:30 on a Sunday, taking time out of his evening, giving me a great interview, giving me so much detail on what to expect from these Taylor Ducks, and even talking to him before and after the interview. Just I can easily see how kids could corral around a man like that, how he leads this team. Not once in any of our conversation did I ever hear that man say, "What I have." It was his coaches, his players. He's like, "Nah, man. Let me tell you something about Coach Jones. Let me tell you something about," and I forget all their names, but he literally told me every single coach and what they brought, and that is what a great head coach is all about. He surrounds himself around great men. This Taylor Duck program is about to take off, and this is going to be a great game this week as they will be taking on Somerset in the first round. Taylor lost first round to Bourne last year, and Coach Earven Flowers this year has led this team after a rough start to a 5-5 overall record, 5-1 in district. They had a huge win and he talked about the resiliency of his team with players out and the next man up against Travis to get the number 2 seed in the district. They pulled that win off 42-36. They had a really good win against Maynard New Tech 44-14 earlier at the first game in the district. And a tough loss to LBJ 46-14, but there was some really good bright spots in that game that I've heard, and what Coach Flowers, Coach Button, Coach Jones, the guys that he was telling me about, just everyone that he has there. Taylor Ducks are in for some dang good football. Eli Lawrence, quarterback, got 108, 100 Eli Lawrence has 108 for 200, 1,758 passing yards, 20 touchdowns. Andreas Fisher has 135 rushing attempts for 1,013 yards, 14 touchdowns. Then you get the pair of wide receivers and freshman Damian Calico has 36 receptions for 638 yards, 6 touchdowns. And wide receiver senior Jamarcus Seawood has 25 receptions for 464 yards and 8 touchdowns. So offensively, this team is sound, and they have came a long way, and they have literally jumped to the next level in just 5 games. And it is something that I say just 5 games, but this was been worked on and planned, and coaches, their plan laid out perfectly. Let's hop over to the defensive side as we're talking about Rogers, the linebacker that came from Granger, has 75 tackles on the season. 8 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, 1 interception, and I believe that interception went for a pick 6. 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. Caddy Maravilla, the anchor of the defensive line, has 59 tackles. 15 tackles for a loss. Dude also has 5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. Junior, Kezion Simeon, in missing a few games too, he has 34 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, and 1 fumble recovery. He is fourth on this team in tackles. Rangel has 46 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. Then you have Jarrell Robertson, Ethan Flagg, Tristan Vega, Guzman. I know his name. I know that guy so well. The freshman has came in there and done work. Such a lot of depth. You have the underclassmen, you have the senior class to guide them, and this team is going to be outrageous, man. When it comes to Somerset, and whenever I looked this up last night, I said, "No way, man!" It said head coach Koy Detmer, and I know Koy Detmer. I got his football card, and I said, "There's no way it's Koy Detmer, the NFL quarterback, the quarterback that played at Colorado." Sure enough, head coach Koy Detmer, ex-Eagles quarterback, ex-Colorado quarterback, head coach for Somerset, which is pretty cool. He has led that team to an 8-2 record, 4-2 in district. They lost in the first round of Burnett last year, 42-20. They're slightly a heavy, run-heavy offense, but they do. It's not probably like 58-42 type ordeal. They had a key loss against Kenyon Lake, 42-20. Davenport, 14-55. Key wins against Uvalde, 35-15, and Pleasanton, 41-21. When it comes to this team, they're led by quarterback Caleb Flores, who is 98 of 167 for 1201, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. John Alvarez, the running back, 6 rushing touchdowns on the season. And wide receiver Owen Woodson, 22 receptions, 253 yards, 5 touchdowns. Defensively, I didn't have any stats from this year, but looking up on Dave Campbell's, Nathan Flores, the linebacker, he's 5'11", 200 pounds, runs a 4.7. Last year, he had 56 tackles and 2 INTs. And then defensive back Angelo Ortiz, 36 tackles last year, 4 interceptions. So this game is going to be a dang good one. I think this is, like Coach Flowers said, they're really evenly matched, and this can be anybody's game. So I look forward to calling this game for the NFHS network, as I will be color commentating and cameraman. Usually I'm able to keep stats when I'm just color commentating, but since I'll be behind the camera, maybe I won't have as much stats during the game. But Daniel Chancellor will call the game. That dude is great at what he does. I'll be there, and we will be giving you Taylor Duck playoff football this Friday with a 7:30 start at House Park in Austin. Guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you. Hit that like and subscribe. Thank y'all for letting me be a part of the team for the interviews. Coach Flowers, Caddy Matavia, Kezion Simeon, the people that I got to meet in the team with the team, and y'all giving me the insight. Man, I appreciate this so much. Y'all been such a blessing. I look forward to another preseason next year and bringing y'all some really good tailored football for the years to come. Guys, thank y'all so much, and y'all have a blessed evening.
1, 2, 3, 4. D'Antoni and Hodges in the backfield. Hodges gets never called it. The 5, tagging from behind. The dive.